If God's given you a vision, it's time to stop protecting it and start partnering for it. Your operator isn't your threat. They're actually your answer. You need to pray for them, identify them, empower them, trust them. The Lord gave the word, Psalm 68. Great was the company of those who proclaimed it. So you've got to work in a multiplicity. Even if it started with you, it cannot continue with just you. And you've got to know that your ceiling is not your capacity alone. It's your unwillingness to trust operational help. So bring in the operator, release control, and let the kingdom be built the way heaven intended. Ecclesiastes 4:10 says, "Woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him." And the truth is, God doesn't build with one man alone or one woman. He always pairs the visionary with the operator and the builder with some kind of administrator. The prophet has at least a scribe to write things down. When you read these New Testament epistles by the Apostle Paul, they are most likely, at least some of them, written by a scribe. So consider the biblical pattern here. God calls Moses, assignment way above him, and he has an Aaron. And so one is called to the burning bush, if you will, but another is called to execute some of the plans. If you look at Nehemiah, because we've talked about Nehemiah a lot regularly, especially in a church context and prayer context, staying on the wall. We love those passages from Nehemiah, but Nehemiah had Ezra. So there's Nehemiah carrying the vision. Nobody can do what Nehemiah had to do because that was Nehemiah's role in the visionary, but you have Ezra, and Ezra is among the people, bringing the law, bringing the regulation, bringing the implementation. In the life of Jesus, you don't see specifically one operator, but the same principle you see that he brings the 12. They're entrepreneurs. Some are practical, some are the creative, some are the feelers. He chose those 12 to spread what he started. You could arguably see singular functions. He has a full-time accountant. And it's a separate conversation to say, well, it's dangerous. Well, for sure it's dangerous, but it's more dangerous for you to try and be your 12. It's more dangerous for you to try and be your own visionary and your own operator, because there's the guarantee of failure. You see Paul and Barnabas, and you see Paul and Titus. And if you recall, why did Paul leave Titus in Crete? Why? Because Paul carried vision, power, fire, and he said exactly what an operator does. He said, I left you in Crete so that you would put in order what remains. And you know the Greek term there, if you look it up on your blue letter Bible, it is orthodontou. I left you there. I put you there, operator, apostolic administrator. I left you there so you will be the orthodontist. You'll get the teeth there. It's all out of order. Get them in order. And what a giant, terrible, and wonderful job he left to Titus as an apostolic orderer, operator, orthodontou. They're a vulgar community, difficult. Those Cretans were liars, Paul said. It gave these vast general terms there. And history tells us there are about 100 towns there. So it was an expansive job. Where was Paul? Out. So then think of Solomon and his 12 leaders. You got one man with the wisdom and the message and songs, thousands of songs, thousands of parables and proverbs. But you've got his 12 bringing in order. 12 is the number of governance. So in 1 Kings 4, you can see those 12. And if I, just by memory, think 2 of them are secretaries there. One is a priest. They're not just helpers, they're divinely assigned operators. God-ordained people who enforce and organize and execute the work of heaven. Okay, so let's move this more onto you. Number 2, the visionary's gift is incomplete. It's incomplete. I know what you're thinking. These are not great, giant, prophetic, crazy gifts in operation, maybe a little bit, but it's just because I know I've walked in a lot of what you've walked in. I can do this. I'm complete. I wouldn't say it that way because that doesn't sound right. I've got this. I've got it all. But you know that you are incomplete. Your visionary gift is incomplete. You're called, you're anointed, you're even effective in some areas, but without an operator, your destiny will short circuit. Psalm 127 verse 1, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. There's a partnership, a multiplicity. And how does the Lord build? Through teams, through order. There's a divine synergy. So in your visionary state, you're dreaming about what's next, but you're forgetting who's missing. And the who is the essential question. You're the visionary is the fire starter, but you're burning out without the systems. You've got direction, but you've got to have that structure. So your future is not limited by your giftings, but it's being limited by your refusal to release control and let God send the person who brings your vision to life. Now, what's the blueprint of the operator? So number 3, the operator is God's blueprint enforcer, if you will. God sends a Titus to your Paul, on someone who will, Titus chapter 1 verse 5, set things in order. And it's not just an assistant, it's someone that's going to be very much very apostolic in their gifting, but they are the architect of the execution. So where you bring the vision, they bring the order and the alignment. And some of you, my concern is some of you may even in your mind have checked out to think, well, I don't have 6 figures to hire some 5 figures, 6 figures, some amazing operator. But don't think that way. Don't think that way. Just think team, think relationship. Got to understand in the economy of God, the Spirit makes the impossible possible. Nehemiah built the wall in 52 days. Men had been speaking of this for years, for decades. But the speaking of the vision isn't sufficient. So, and then you have Ezra, and if you look at the biblical chronology, the timeline, he's there at the same time. So you have Ezra who's reinstalling these elements of law. What is that? If that's not an SOP, what law is how the culture is going to run. Law is how we are going to operate, how we're going to function. In the life of Paul, we've already listed some of his partnerships. One other powerful biblical partnership is David and Joab. And you have there the commander who executed David's campaign. So that's where you're limited was second point. Your operator is the one that is the executor of the blueprint. Okay, number 4, moving quickly, is this, how does this pattern look where the two are operating together? So the divine pattern is where there's 2 in agreement. Amos 3 says, verse 3, how can 2 walk together unless they're agreed? So the kingdom was never meant to be carried alone. It was never meant for visionaries without operators. But when the 2 come into agreement, it releases that compound acceleration. In another verse, Deuteronomy 32:30, 1 can chase 1,000, but 2 can put 10,000 to flight. Point 5 is have eyes to understand dysfunction. There is dysfunction without delegation. So the verse here is Exodus 18. Moses' father-in-law said, what you are doing is not good. You will surely wear out. You need to know that visionaries who refuse to delegate, they become their own bottleneck. They're calling it something positive like excellence, but it's really a fear of letting go. And if you don't learn to trust someone to carry the vision, it's going to die in your own hands. This is a biblical revelation, the miracle of alignment. When you get that alignment, that visionary and operator in sync, that's gonna be a game changer for you, where the visionary stops living in the clouds and we start landing the plane. So you're going to have both vision and running. That's Habakkuk 2, verse 2. Write the vision, make it plain, so that the one who reads it may run. Crazy about our viewers, actually 60% of you who watch our videos are not actually subscribed. And we noticed you do a lot in the comments and you like and you share, which is awesome. But if this video resonated with you and you like our content, I'd like to ask you, please hit the notifications button, hit the subscribe button, because we want to continue to get out to you quality content that impacts you and changes your life. And so please become a subscriber today. We'd love to track with you.